Hello crafters, Raquel here with Paints and Glitter, and this is the tutorial of the gorgeous box that you can create with the dies from Remember When We Danced by Tonic Studios. As you can see here, I'm sharing with you the pieces that you'll need to create this box. So for the side portion, I've already decorated using some of the panels that you can cut out using the dies in this collection, which by the way contains 82 dies. So in a separate video, I'm going to share with you how to make the memory book or mini album you can place inside. But here I'm showing you the card that I use. So I did use this gorgeous paper collection from Tonic Studios, so I'll be linking everything below. And then I'm sharing with you the number of pieces that you're going to need. So I am going to repeat it as we go along, but I'm also going to share with you how to fold those tabs and all the rest to make sure that you have all of the pieces that you need. So to begin, you're going to be using the largest die to cut out these beautifully shaped pieces of card, and the instructions call for 5 layers. What I've done, as you can tell, is I've used some cardboard. So I did cut those twice. I adhered them together, and then I placed this double-sided adhesive on one side, and now you're watching me place the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. So it's up to you if you want to use your cardstock, but I highly recommend at least any leftover cereal box or anything like that that you can cut down to create your layers. It's going to make a difference. So now I'm adding the Craft Perfect cardstock, and I did use the color Peer View, I believe is this blue. It's a really nice deep blue that does match the paper collection, and can I just tell you, this paper collection is so gorgeous. So on the other side, as you can tell, I also have some double-sided adhesive, and this is just to make it a little bit faster. But what I recommend is that you take your time placing these edge pieces and matching every single little corner, all of the folds. So as you can see there, of course, decorating that portion first is highly advisable. And then those little corners are going to be a little bit fidgety, but take your time because they form that L shape. So you want a mountain fold and then a valley fold on that paper. And that's what's going to allow you to then place those little corners precisely where they belong on the edge of this box, which is then, of course, going to match the shape of your memory book. So this is quite a large box, by the way, and if you make a smaller memory book, it would still look absolutely stunning with this as the presentation, and then you can fill the rest of the box with maybe a small gift, some little candles, or anything like that. It would look absolutely stunning, and of course take advantage of that gorgeous paper, and it will all match very beautifully. So as you can see there, I'm just taking my time and then using the bone folder. It's another tool that is an essential for 3D crafting. You want to make sure that you can apply pressure to all of those little corners, and the next piece is going to go on exactly the same. So now that I have one edge done, I'm going to repeat the same steps on the other side. So you find what's comfortable for you, but what's important here is that the tabs that you're adhering to this bottom piece are actually the smaller tabs that you can fold on this. And I mention that because it's going to make a difference when you see the other rectangular panels. So here is the one side of the box. So what I've done is taken the one rectangle panel that you can cut out, and as you see there, it's the smaller tab that you're adhering to the base, and then you're adhering the two sides, and it's going to leave you with a bit of a lip there. So if you want to do this before attaching it, go ahead and fold that little rectangular portion over. So you're going to see me do that in a moment. I just folded it down and I adhered it toward the inside of the box. So you still have to burnish that paper, especially Craft Perfect card. It's quite sturdy. So just go ahead and fold that over and then burnish it really nicely, and that way you get a nice crisp edge. And now you're going to take a second one. You're going to actually adhere it upside down essentially. So I am cutting away that rectangular tab, And then I'm adding this to the inside with the folded tab facing inside of the box. And this will all start making sense in a moment, but you see the second portion. Now this is to add stability to this box. You really want to double this up. And adding that second piece of cardstock is really going to come in handy. So you see those edges that are left over, you can go ahead and cut those away because you're only going to need them on one end and not the other. Now go ahead and attach this long piece if you'd like to, but if you prefer, you can definitely do them individually and adhere them one by one. This is just the way that I decided to go about it. So I created one long strip, and this long strip is going to go on the inside of the box. What's important here is that all of those edges that you're going to see me burnish in a moment are going to be valley folds, okay? So that's what I was just emphasizing there. And now this is going to fit on the inside. And here you definitely want to take your time to make sure that that paper matches what you've already laid down as your foundation. I started with the rectangle on the back of the box, if you will. And then I went ahead and added adhesive here to more of this panel, but I recommend that you not do what I'm doing here. After having made the box, just go one little bit by bit. It might take you a little bit longer, but it will be worth it. So just so that the glue doesn't dry on you too fast and all of that. But you're seeing me apply this panel, and you can go portion by portion there, just making sure that all those little nooks and crannies match perfectly. And once that comes together, you can just keep adhering the adjacent panel, and then just be sure to apply pressure where you need it, but don't be too rough on it so that you don't create any folds or bend the paper. And here I've allowed myself some little pegs or clothespins, so that's another great way to go ahead and hold that paper together along the edge. So if you happen to have those, take advantage of them. Use little clips to hold that paper together. It's like having another set of hands. I just didn't happen to have them near me, and I just kept on crafting, but I did use the two that I found. So this is going to be the edge that will open up on the box, and you want to make sure that the paper meets up right at that edge as well if you're going to make it in this fashion. Now this is how the instructions say to make it, and then that one little tab that's left over toward that open edge, you just fold over and adhere toward the inside of the box as well. And that'll give you a nice finished edge. So here I'm repeating the steps on the other side. And here this portion was a whole lot easier because I did just take it one step at a time there, one portion at a time. And here's that other edge. You just fold it toward the inside. Okay, so this is one option of many, of course. So if you want to, you can definitely add that other rectangle to this other side and just close up the box instead. That's really going to be up to you. But here is how I'm going to proceed. So I'm adding that second rectangle, and that's going to actually fold out, but I'm wanting to make sure that it meets the very edge of what's going to be the bottom of this box. And once that's fully attached exactly where I want it, then I can apply more pressure. And then you want to burnish that paper really nicely to make sure that it makes full contact. And now I can remove that adhesive covering and then place the decorative panel of your choice, of course, on what's going to be the inside. I went with this more taupe looking card, It has all of those pretty florals as well, and I thought it would bring a little bit of brightness to the inside of this box. So I was quite pleased with how everything matches and just looks so very pretty. So just take your time on that as well to make sure that it is fully adhered on every one of those little corners. And that's again where that bone folder comes in handy, because it allows you to press onto the paper without creating creases. Now you're going to use the dies that come in the set that create this little corner piece. So this does have two little tabs. They fold away from you, so they are both a mount and fold. And then you just want to be conscious of how it's fitting on that corner. You're going to apply that 4 times, and that's going to allow you to have a really nice little corner onto which you can place the decorative and support portion of this. Now I did cut it twice, and this is optional, but I highly recommend that you do it. I adhered one underneath the tabs, and now I'm going to adhere the second one on top. What I did was that I decorated this uppermost portion using the Nuvo embellishment mousse. But as you see here, I'm going to try to kind of walk this around the perimeter of this box opening. And that's because I want to make sure that this adheres as close to the edge as I can get that. And then I could cut away the excess, anything that shows on the edge if I'm not happy with it. But I'm just allowing myself there the amount of adhesive necessary just to get this to adhere right to the edge. And this does also emboss the paper, or the die does, and it looks absolutely stunning when you add that little bit of shine. So in lieu of adding embellishment mousse, of course, you could use any of the pearlescent papers from Tonic Studios. I just probably wouldn't recommend the mirror card, only because you're going to be manipulating this quite a bit as you lay it down. And then we're getting to the opposite edge here of the box. Now remember that one tab is open, so you'll just cut away that little portion that you don't need. And then I just applied a little more pressure and was happy with that. And here's the second blue rectangle here. I'm again folding it along the thinner or more narrow edge and burnishing that. And this is going to adhere to the lid. Now, because I created the lid in a similar fashion to the bottom of this box, where I did place a layer of the card or chipboard, thin chipboard behind the paper, then this is where I'm going to adhere that rectangle. And then that way that hinge is going to be covered once I decorate the inside of it. So I'm now going to burnish this. And then I've taken a rectangle that you can cut using the die set. And I'm placing this on the other side. And this is going to create a little bit of a tab that I'm going to actually use to close this. So you're going to want to cut that twice, but I'm just placing that for now, so that way I can cover it with the designer paper here on what's going to be the inside of the lid. So as you can see there, I placed adhesive on only half of that, so that way I could have time to position that paper, make sure it's nice and straight and even on all corners. And then I'll go back, add a little bit more adhesive on the remaining portion there. And that way I can cover that one little tab. And then finish applying pressure to the rest of this. Now on the opposite end here, there's going to be that straight rectangular tab, and we're not going to need it, so I just folded that over. And I'm going to do the same thing with the one on the box that's already there. So applying that double-sided adhesive just made it a little bit easier. But here I'm kind of measuring out the distance, and I'm making sure that that tab fits nicely. So that's where I noticed that I wasn't going to really need that edge. So I went ahead and folded that toward the inside of the box and applied pressure there, made sure that to burnish that really nicely. And now that edge is going to meet the edge of that lid. So here I did take advantage of the double-sided adhesive just to be able to make the video, but of course you can just use liquid adhesive if you would like to. But those two rectangles will end up measuring the same size. So here is where I'm adding that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and then the one rectangle will meet the edge of the paper. So you just butt that right up to the edge and then let the second rectangle fall right on top. And just make sure that you're happy with the placement, and then you can burnish that. And then you can, of course, decorate the outer portion. I just selected another pretty piece of that cardstock. And I did go ahead and place some double-sided adhesive onto the bottom of this box because it occurred to me that I wanted to be able to pull those edges in slightly, and I also thought it would look really pretty to basically create a presentation where you have to untie this ribbon to be able to get to the mini album. So I did apply double-sided adhesive there, but I did supplement that with a little drop of hot glue. And now to create the closure, there is a die that will allow you to create a little lock. Now you just saw me place a piece of pink cardstock, sorry, on top of that gray board. And then on the back, I'm placing the blue. And I did that only to show you that there is a front and a back to this, and you want to kind of pay attention to that when you're creating the lock. However, you can cut this multiple times to the thickness that you desire. Just make sure that the lock mechanism and the base are both the same thickness. But you can see there how that works together. And of course, instead of gray board, you can just use cardstock. But here I'm going to decorate what's going to cover the mechanism, and that is the front of the lock. And then there's this little decorative portion, which is absolutely gorgeous. And that I did cut out with pearlescent card. And now that's going to be applied to this little base. Again, it covers the lock mechanism, but you still see that on the back. And it creates a really nice sturdy piece. But here you see how that comes together. And then you can close the little lock. Just be careful not to move it too much because of course this is made of paper. But here's one of the two lock options that you have. So that little piece gets folded. You want to adhere it together only on the top portion, and then make sure you open up the two little bottom pieces. And then of course there's another little slit there that you can use. Now here's a different way that I'm going to be applying this. That little tab that I have on the side, I'm actually going to place everything right on top. So I will be adhering that pearlescent piece of card so that it fits right inside of that little rectangular piece that is in the pink cardstock. So it's going to be a bit of a faux closure, but the reason that I decided to use it in this manner was so that the little lock could essentially just stay in place while still being decorative and really pretty. So here you see me applying that little base, and this is where the little lock is going to go. That's going to adhere to that little tab. And then this emulates what would have been the opening on the second piece of card, but I'm just going to place it right on top. And again, this is just one of many options. You can do it the traditional way and cut into the background of the paper, and there is a die that will allow you to do that. You would just need to plan ahead for that. And now behind this little tab, what I'm doing is that I am adhering a little magnet. So there's going to be one on the top. And then I will place the matching magnet right on top, apply a little drop of glue, go ahead and close that lid. And this is going to help me with the placement. So now when I apply pressure, that little drop of adhesive is actually going to mark the placement of the magnet right on the paper. And I apologize that I was a little bit out of frame there, but I was adding the second magnet, and I'll show you in a moment what that looks like. So there you're able to see how that's going to close. And lastly, now I can just add the little lock right on top. And then I will be covering the magnets with a second piece of paper that I will cut using the same die. And that will complete this project. As you can see, here's the result of the box once it's fully decorated. What I've done is that I did take some of the dies from the collection. I started off by using some of the embellishment mousse in both the lavender and, so it's lilac, lavender, and Bermuda pink. And that Bermuda pink has more of a peachy tone, so I did use that with a stencil on the largest piece, so there's only a little bit of that Bermuda pink showing. Then I placed a second layer of that gorgeous blue floral paper. On top of that, I created that shaker. So I did cut through that larger piece of card so that way you could see the flowers in the background there. And then I created a shaker by adding acetate to this outermost layer. That's the one with the little Nuvo drops all around it. And then I did inlay this lavender portion. So the die does the dry embossing on that paper, and then to make that pop a little bit, I colored it using the lilac lavender, which you're going to see throughout this project, as well as the Bermuda pink. Those are the two colors that I used. Then I did some fussy cutting. I love that little bird, and here he is, and that's in the paper collection. You're going to see that little design throughout. So to make that stand out, I did use some glitter. It's just some chunky glitter that I have in my stash. Then you can see the sequins that I added there to make that a shaker. Then I also added some flowers on the edge here, and those were from Little Birdie, and these are just some handmade flowers. And if you need the number, it is CR91532. So they're just really, really beautiful flowers. And I know that there's a name, but I can't find it on there. But in any case, that's what I used here. And then I also went ahead and topped the stamens and the centers of some of those flowers all with chunky glitter. Then there are these little pods, and so what I did there is that I colored it using some Nuvo drops so that it would match the project. And you're going to see, of course, how I completed this. You would have seen it in the video, and I did close it with a magnet. And then in the center here, I attached the ribbon, and I did add a little bit of hot glue just to make sure that that was fully adhered on the edges. And here's the beginnings of the book. I've not completed it, so you won't see that in this video, but I'm going to do the tutorial for the book. But you're going to see that there's plenty of room for that, and I still have to complete the pages. So even if it lifts quite a bit more than what you can see here, then it's still going to fit. I did use the largest die for the mini album that's available. And then here's the space on the side with this folded out so that you can reach in and grab that book. However, of course, you may not be using this ribbon attachment. I just did that to kind of bring this a little bit closer together. So if you're not going to do that, or that doesn't appeal to you, I'm going to be completely honest and say that I follow the instructions that are available with the die set, but if I had to do the box again, I would actually leave it so that it's completely closed on the side and then put my lid on it and just attach that outer edge there, as you saw in the tutorial, so that it wouldn't open like this. So that's just my personal preference, although I don't think there's anything wrong per se. It's just, you know, everyone has what they like and what they take away from making these projects. So that would be my personal take on it. But I'm absolutely thrilled with this box. I think it's so gorgeous. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. And as I always say, I hope that you can be inspired and be blessed. And I thank you so much for watching.